Somewhere along the line, we were taught that if you were to be taken seriously as a leader, that you needed to leave your heart at the door. That showing any empathy or leading with any compassion or trusting your intuition somehow makes you soft, weak, and ineffective. Well, I'm here to challenge that today because not only is that belief outdated, it's harmful to teams, to organizations, to the communities we live in, to the countries we live in, and the leaders who are holding it all in. So, in today's episode, I want to unpack one of the most damaging myths in leadership, that being heart centered isn't practical, powerful, or scalable. I've lived that myth and I've had to unlearn it. Let's talk about it. This idea that we need to toughen up to be respected is baked in traditional leadership models, especially in those sort of high pressure industries like tech and finance. We are rewarded as leaders for pushing rather than pausing. We're taught that decisions have to be data driven and that feelings just muddy the water somehow. But the truth is that emotional intelligence and empathy, they actually enhance decision making. They don't get in the way. And when we suppress empathy, we create distance amongst our communities, our team members, our lives. We create disconnection, and eventually burnout can happen within ourselves, but also within our teams. So let's talk about the science here for a moment, because empathy and heart-centered leadership aren't just buzzwords. They have a measurable impact. One major study published in the Journal of Organizational Behavior found that leaders who display empathy create more engaged and productive teams. And in fact, the researchers concluded that empathetic concern from leaders is positively associated with employee job performance. That's not soft, folks. That's strategic. And if we zoom out a little bit more, a 2021 report from Catalyst surveyed over 900 employees, and they found that employees with highly empathetic leaders were more likely to report innovation, engagement, and reduced burnout. Empathy wasn't just a nice to have, it ended up being a performance multiplier. And here's the kicker. Empathy activates the same regions of the brain responsible for complex problem solving and moral reasoning. We're wired to connect, and suppressing those connections actually limits your leadership range. So no, leading with heart doesn't make you less effective. It makes you more impactful, especially in those high performance environments. So as a leader, I am heart-filled. However, I had so many walls around that heart of mine because of my own past experience and from a variety of experiences through work, that I didn't allow that to really come through in the way that I needed it to. So coming from a healthcare and public service environment, I was conditioned to lead with control, with urgency, and in survival mode. And there just wasn't space for softness, ironically. But after my second burnout, I had to unlearn and detangle some of the armor that I had built around my heart over the decades. And that's when I found things like breath work and mindfulness, and eventually got trained and certified in heart breath. It's a practice rooted in presence and connection with the body, but also with those around us. And in doing that, something shifted for me. I stopped trying to prove myself through performance and started to lead from the inside out. My work became more impactful, and I ultimately made a career shift as a result of this work. Not only that, but I found that my relationships really deepened. I have more friendships, more heart-centered friendships than I've ever had in my life. My relationship with my husband improved, and my relationship and conversations I have with my kids has improved as a result of this work. And as an executive wellness coach, I get to watch my clients transform as they connect to their heart and lead in that manner. So why does it matter now? Well, right now we're in a leadership crisis. Burnout is rampant. People are disengaged. And the old models of leadership are starting to fail. In fact, we're seeing a little bit of the death throes of the old guard, if you will, out there. And the fact is that heart-centered leadership isn't optional anymore. It's essential, because the leaders who know how to connect, to pause, and to respond, not just react, are the ones who are going to build sustainable, resilient cultures at work and at home, and also in our broader community and countries and world that we live in. So what are some of the practical ways that we can start leading with heart? I mean, the question really is, how do we lead without losing clarity and boundaries or results? Here's a few ways to bring more heart into your leadership starting today. The first is to be present before performance. So before you launch into anything, tasks, targets, take 5, 10, 20 seconds to ground yourself, to breathe, to center yourself. Because when you walk in a room or a call or a Zoom meeting fully present, people will feel it. When you do this, your nervous system, or if you've hacked your nervous system, then becomes the leader in the room before you even said a word. The second thing is to create space so that you can listen. So in meetings, whether they be one-on-one or in group settings, start by asking a meaningful question and then actually listen. Don't fill the silence. Be like a coach, be quiet. But ask something. What's something you're carrying that's invisible to the rest of us? If that feels too personal in the moment, say, what's one thing you need right now that you're really not getting? You're not collecting feedback. You're building trust. The third thing is modeling emotional regulation. So your ability to manage your stress sets the tone for not just your entire team, but your entire world. When we walk in agitated or scattered, that energy spreads. So using breathing tools in those moments to find stillness before you have those high pressure conversations is going to be important. I have links in the show notes to support you. They are absolutely free. I have an audio meditation that you can use. I also have a cheat sheet, if you will, of breathwork patterns and thoughts around what you can put into your day that take little to no time or effort, but can really have a major impact in how you show up. The fourth thing is to be real, not raw. In other words, share the scar, not the wound. Heart-led leadership doesn't mean turning meetings into therapy sessions with your staff or oversharing. It means showing up as human, not a robot. If something is hard, name it. If you've made a mistake, own it. Vulnerability comes with boundaries, but it also creates psychological safety. The fifth thing is ask yourself, am I leading from fear or from clarity? This question is one of the fastest ways to reset. Because when you make a decision, have a hard conversation or give feedback to somebody, you want to check in. Is fear leading this? Is it needing to control? Is it to micromanage, to overreact? Or is clarity leading this, which is alignment and presence and wise strategic action? These aren't soft skills. They're survival skills for modern leadership. They reduce your stress, improve your outcomes, and allow you to lead without burning out. And the best part? You don't need permission to start. You just need to start with intention. So let me ask you this. What would shift in your leadership if you brought more heart into the room? What would happen if you stopped seeing your empathy as a liability and started seeing it as your greatest asset or potential secret weapon? Because if you're curious about that journey, you're definitely in the right place here on this channel. Be sure to check out the show notes below because there are resources there for you that are completely free and downloadable to support you as you lead, so you can minimize your stress and the impact of that stress in your life. If you got anything out of today's content, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Comment if you're watching on YouTube, because this really helps get the channel out to other people who need to hear this. Thanks again for being here today. I really appreciate the time you took to listen and or watch this. Until next time, stay inspired, stay grounded, and remember to exhale.